Yay, it's finally here, the first birthday of the Women of Faith in Leadership podcast. In exactly 2 days, on the 4th of September 2024, this podcast will be 1 year old. So in today's episode, I'll be sharing a special birthday episode with you and looking back over the year, what has been favorite episodes, listeners in which countries, and I share with you how you can also give a birthday gift to the show. Let's do it.
Leading as a woman is tough, but leading as a woman of faith is next level. However, it doesn't have to be that way. God has called you into this leadership role because He says you are worthy. You are His child, and if He qualifies you, who in this world can unqualify you? You might suffer from imposter syndrome and believe you're not good enough, but God says you are good enough. Hi, I'm Rika, Whelan, Christian leader and workplace culture coach, and together we're going to navigate leadership with faith as our foundation. Let's get started. Grab your coffee or water, keep that notebook and pen handy, and let's jumpstart your leadership.
So what do you get a podcast for their first birthday? A review, of course. Please go to Apple Podcast if you've got an Apple device, or log on to a friend's device, log on to your cousin or your husband or your partner's device, and please go and leave a review. Okay, come and then share this review on the Facebook group so that everybody can feel encouraged to leave a review as well. Those reviews are extremely important because it pushes up the global rating of the show, but it also gives the show more visibility with other people within your region. So reviews can be seen within the region. So everybody who leaves reviews in the United States can see everybody from the United States reviews. So if you're listening in Canada and you've not left a review yet, but you've been listening to the show all this time, it means that anybody else who's in Canada does not know that you love the show. If you're listening in the UK and you've not left a review yet and you love the show, then people in the UK who log on don't know whether this is a good podcast to listen to or not. So it adds really a lot of value to the show. If you leave a review, it just means that anybody else who's sussing out whether they should really listen to the show or not can go and have a look at those 5 stars and think, okay, yeah, this sounds like it's worth my time to go and listen to this show. So please go and leave a review on Apple Podcast. You can click the 5 stars on Spotify as well. It doesn't do the exact same thing, unfortunately, as on Apple Podcast. But by all means, go and leave that 5-star review on Spotify as well, and on any of the other platforms if you've got the ability to do so. Apple Podcast is always the preferred one, simply because of that global rating. The global rating is based off Apple Podcast reviews alone. Now, everybody who leaves a review will also go into a draw to win a coaching session with me. So go and leave that Apple Podcast review. Come and post it on the Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group, come and join the Facebook group. Post that review, and you can write something like "in it to win it" or something like that. And then you can stand a chance to win a coaching session with me. Now, what will we cover in this coaching session? Whatever you need to and whatever you would like. So if you've got any issues that you would like, or any coaching or mentoring that you need for your leadership role, any advice that you need, I'm here for that. I'm here for you. So you can win a coaching session with me. If you do not win the coaching session, or you don't have the time to go and leave that Apple review and go into the draw, you can book a coaching session with me. So you can email me at support@rikawhelan.com. And I'm here to help you all things leadership and faith related. So if you're a woman of faith that are in a leadership position, I do offer coaching sessions, one-on-one coaching sessions, which are online. And you submit a pre form, so you can let me know exactly what it is that I'll be helping you with. And that gives me a perfect opportunity to prepare and then help you, so that it's not money wasted, it's not time wasted. You get the answer that you're looking for. Okay, so let's jump into the episode, and I'm going to do a very quick recap of why I started this podcast. So approximately a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, I started feeling on my heart that I needed to start a podcast. And when I prayed about what this podcast should be about, I feel as if the Lord spoke to me clearly. Women of faith in leadership. I'd never heard anything so clearly as what I did that day. But at the same time, I was also starting a business called the Workplace Culture Hub. And so I wasn't quite sure how these two were going to tie in, but I started the podcast nonetheless, and it went really, really well. And I've really enjoyed this podcast and everything that it brings, not only for me, but for the listeners as well. And it was just a way for me to give back to the listeners. It was a way to share all the knowledge that I had gained as a woman of faith in leadership over the last couple of years. And for me, this is a journey of obedience where I listen to the Lord and I'm sharing what is on His heart with you all as listeners. So the highlights for me over the last year has been getting to meet the listeners in the Facebook group. I've chatted with some of you on coaching sessions, and I've chatted with you on some other sessions that were not coaching related, but I had some calls with some people who helped me with some of my market research. So I'm very thankful for everyone who participated in that. Now, you can also participate in these things that I'm doing if you're part of the Facebook group. So come and join the Facebook group. I usually put a little bit of an expression of interest out there. And if you've not submitted a listener question yet, you can also do that. So you can go to womenoffaithinleadership.com and submit a listener question. And it's been very, very, very amazing for me to get those questions through. And I got my first speak pipe the other day where somebody left a voice message thanking me for the show. And it's just really so amazing to hear from the listeners and to hear how the show is impacting you. And that I'm not just speaking through a microphone, but that there are actual listeners on the other side who are implementing the strategies that I've learned through trial and error, but also by the grace of God, really. So as of Monday, the 2nd of September, when I'm recording this, we have 7,555, so 7,555 downloads on the show, which is truly amazing for a first time or for a first year podcast. To have over 7,500 downloads is pretty amazing. So I'm very, very thankful for each and every one of you who have listened to those episodes 7,555 times. So that's amazing. So we've got listeners in 71 countries, with the top 5 countries being the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, South Africa, and New Zealand. That's truly amazing. Now, the top favorite episodes, I'll just say the top 5. So the 5th favorite was episode 49, which was all about leading with kindness and leading like Jesus. And I busted the myth that kindness is not a weakness. The 4th favorite was episode number 3, Is It Really Gossip? Office chatter versus gossip. And then the 3rd favorite episode was episode number 24, Dealing with Difficult People at Work. And interestingly enough, I did a rerun of that episode. The first time I aired that show, there was 58 downloads on that one. When I reran that show, I had another 128 downloads. So either it was the same people listening to it again, or it was 128 people more who listened to that one, actually making that one the favorite. So it gives me an idea that you are dealing with a lot of difficult people at work. I might do a follow-up episode of that one. The 2nd favorite one was episode 2, What is Workplace Culture and Why Should You Care About It? And then the favorite episode was episode number 51, which was a guest that I had on the show, Anita Anello. Is it time to break free from corporate life? So that is very, very interesting. I love that. Now, I'm still waiting to hear from the listeners. Oh, no, I had a couple of requests, so that's good. But maybe more requests would be good of upcoming episodes that you would like me to touch on, upcoming topics that you would like to hear about, things that I might not have addressed on the show yet. And so in the next portion of this episode, I'm going to share with you what is coming up or what's ahead for the next season of the podcast and my focus and a prophetic word that I got. So the next season of the podcast is going to be, I want to really be more focused on what the listeners are looking for. When you start a podcast, you choose the topics that you think the listeners want to hear about. And as you have a look at the data, as you have a look at the analytics, you kind of realize, okay, what are really good topics? What are some topics that the listeners didn't like at all? So those are the least downloaded episodes and then the most downloaded episodes. But I think what can take that one step further is if you start having that engagement with the listeners. If the listeners start letting you know that, okay, I really want to hear more about workplace culture, but this in particular. Or I really want to learn more about leadership, but this in particular. Because leadership, workplace culture, faith, and boundaries, which are the 4 things I like to talk about on this show, are very wide topics. But within those topics are subtopics, and it's those subtopics and subtopics that I really would like to address. And I'd like to address them so that they mean something to you. It's not just another show to listen on the way to work. It's actually something that you can implement. It's actually something that I might have something to say about. Sometimes if I don't have a lot of knowledge or a lot of experience in a topic, what I'll do is I'll go and research it. So I am studying my Master's of Business Administration, and therefore research has formed a daily part of my life. So I'm very much used to doing research, trying to understand, what is said in the research or in the data about a certain topic, and what are other people saying about it. I'm also constantly looking I am on LinkedIn. If I'm on LinkedIn, I look at, in particular, things that people have shared on leadership, faith, boundaries, or workplace culture. I save that, and then I might use that as an idea I don't copy it, but what I do is I maybe use it as an idea for a future episode. But again, those things that I save are not you. It's not you as the listener. So please come and join the Facebook group. Let's get chatting about those topics that you want to hear about, so that I can make sure that I really just make this show a show for you. It's tailored to what you want. So I am seeking that feedback more and more now, and I would really appreciate it if you could provide me feedback, and if you could leave that 5-star review then as well. So I was very lucky to receive a prophetic word that I feel was directly related to this show, and it's Job 4:4. And I'm reading it from the New Living Translation. It reads, "Your words have supported those who were failing. You encourage those with shaky knees." And so I took the liberty of reading this in many different translations, because I love to see how people have interpreted that in particular. And so in the New King James Version, it says, "Your words have upheld him who was stumbling, and you have strengthened the feeble knees." And then in the Message, it reads, "Your words have put stumbling people on their feet, put fresh hope in people about to collapse." And then I'm just read the Amplified Bible. "Your words have helped the one who are stumbling to stand, and you have strengthened the feeble knees." And so I really like to see that, because to me, when I received that word, there was more to the prophetic word than just this. But I was really praying that God would show me moving forward, who are these people that I'm focusing on? Because with my business, the Workplace Culture Hub, the focus have not been women of faith in leadership. Anybody who comes through my business, the Workplace Culture Hub, does not necessarily have to be a woman. They don't have to be somebody of faith. They definitely have to be a leader, because most of my programs are focused on leaders and then helping the leaders to lead their employees and manage gossip and workplace culture better. So I was really praying that God would show me who is the people that I should be focusing on. Should I pour more time and effort into the podcast so that I can work only with women of faith in leadership, or should I be not so narrow and then through my business, the Workplace Culture Hub, work with many different people who struggles with workplace culture? And so I really strongly felt when I got Job 4:4 that the listeners of the podcast, Women of Faith in Leadership, were these people who were failing. And it says, "Your words have supported those who were failing. You encourage those with shaky knees." And what's very interesting to me, and why I knew that immediately meant it's the listeners of the show, is that many of you who I have engaged with come to me and you are already feeling like a failure. You've got shaky knees as a leader. And all that you are looking for is for somebody to pick you up and hold your hand, or even, put their arm around you, or hook in arm to arm and just be a crutch to walk with until you can strengthen and have those strengthened knees so that your knees are not shaking anymore, and then can move forward. So this is really the aim then of this podcast moving forward, is so that I can strengthen your shaky knees, so that and support you where you feel you are failing as a leader or as a woman of faith in leadership, so that you can no longer feel as if you were failing. So that when you're done listening to the show, you don't have shaky knees anymore. Or even if you do have shaky knees, you've got strategies to implement at work or for your personal life on how you will no longer have those shaky knees. And so that is really going to be a focus of mine on the show, is just really that supporting role to build you all up as women of faith in leadership, because I do really truly feel as if God has got a plan for each and every one of you that's in a leadership role. You've been placed in that position for a reason, and God doesn't just let things happen for nothing. He's got a reason with everything. So Job 4:4, you can go read it yourself. And I am here to support you. And I also really would like to offer you my coaching services. If you have got any, you're struggling, you're stumbling, there's a stumbling block at work, you've spoken to your mentors at work, you've spoken to your line manager, you have spoken to maybe even a friend, but you still don't feel like you've crossed that line of knowing exactly what to do, knowing what are the steps that you have to follow to improve the situation, then please contact me at support@rikawhelan.com. Let's book a coaching session and let's get this sorted for you, because my heart is you. You are the one that's my focus, because I've been in your role and I know how difficult leadership can be. I know how tough it is, and I know that on a day-to-day basis, leaders burn out because they do not have the capacity to deal with every single employee's individualities. And it's not that you don't care about those individualities. It's that you do care so much that you are running out of steam looking after your people, and you're not looking after yourself. So you no longer have to actually struggle alone. I'm here to support you. Come and join the Facebook group. And just come and ask those questions. Come and ask those tough questions. Some things might not be, we might not be able to address those questions in a Facebook group. We might have to actually jump on a coaching or a session on Zoom and get it addressed. But you will never know unless you come and join the Facebook group and you come and ask or email me. Okay. I am also available for networking, speaking events, or for your training for your team. So I recently did a training for a team on becoming a gossip resilient team. I recently presented to a networking group, leadership networking group. So about why gossip is so prevalent in the education sector in particular. And then I also shared with them, because they were all in the education sector, I also shared with them strategies on what they can implement to ensure that gossip doesn't become the norm in their workplaces. That information is relevant, doesn't matter in what industry you're in, because we're working with people with human behavior, difficult human behavior. And so I'm here to support you. I'm here to support you with that human behavior. I'm here to help you to understand that. But I'm also here to come and speak to your team, because I also noticed when I was in a leadership role, if you get an external person in, sometimes that external person has got more influence than you. I'm not sure how it works, but I always had a consultant coming in sometimes to, say the things that I felt like my team didn't want to hear me on. The consultant came and told them, and then they would listen. So that was sometimes very frustrating to me, but I realized that that's just the way it is, and I've got to utilize that. So if you need me to come and speak to a team, if you'd like to book me for a networking event, you'd like to book me for a speaking event, if you're in Perth, then that'd be easy for me to come in person. But if you are in another country, then we'll have to do it online, digital. So please come and book me. You can also email me at support@rikawhelan.com. There is more information on my website, so you can go to workplaceculturehub.com and you can go navigate to speaking. There's more information, and I've got my speaker kit there that you can download as well. That also includes all my favorite topics to speak about: workplace culture, team dynamics, leadership. Those are some of my favorite topics to speak about to teams at networking events or at conferences. So I look forward to see what you would like me to speak about as a listener of the show. I look forward to you helping me grow the show by leaving a review, by sharing the episodes, and subscribing to the show. So there's about 364 people who listen to the show, but only 134 people are subscribed on Apple Podcast, actually. So, and then on Spotify, there's a couple more there, but I can't see how many who are listeners who are followers. Unfortunately, you can't see that on Spotify in a similar manner than what you can see on Apple Podcasts. So if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the show. Click that follow button, which means every single time when I do put out a new episode, you will get notified about that. So thank you very much for being a listener of the show. Thank you very much for making it to the end of this episode. I know it was an unconventional episode. And I do look forward to engaging with you in the Facebook group. Come and leave that review and come into the draw to stand a chance to win that coaching session with me. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and I'll speak to you again next week. Thanks so much for listening. If this podcast blessed you in some way, the number one way you can thank me is by leaving a review. Your feedback means the world to me and lights me up every single time when I read it. And it makes me want to keep going. So please leave a review, and your review will also help other Christian women in leadership find the answers they are looking for. So whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the review section and leave that review. Then head over to womenoffaithinleadership.com and join our free Facebook community, and I look forward to engaging with you there.